Today is May 4th, and in the past week, Philadelphia has gone 7-7, with the Flyers going 0-3, Sixers 2-2, Phillies 4-1. The Fusion were off, but the Wings went 0-1, and the Union went 1-0. So much to talk about, as always, here on your Philadelphia 8 for 8 sports podcast, The Orange Line. So sit down, have a good old time. I don't know where I was going with that, but enjoy your ride here on The Orange Line.
Wake up, Philadelphia, and let me hear you sing.
Fly, Eagles, fly, on the road to victory.
He had high hopes. He had high hopes.
Clap your hands, everybody, for Philadelphia 76ers.
So, welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Dr. PhD, here on The Orange Line, Philadelphia's 8 for 8 sports podcast, the only one. We are by fans, for fans, and that's what we're going to talk about today is Philadelphia sports, and it's pretty good to be a fan of some of them. Pretty good. But we're going to get into those ones later. Kicking everything off, let's talk about the Soul. I'm very excited for this season, as I've talked about before, but a little upset because I don't have a lot of news to talk about. I always say that this is the heart and soul of Philadelphia, so it deserves a little bit more out from me. So I went a little digging. I really just went on their homepage and saw some dates, but there are things happening right now, actually, and in the near future. Starting today. Oh, no, not today. Sorry, I mean Saturday. Whoops, I got my numbers mixed up. But starting on Saturday the 6th, training camp is going to open up and some of their, off-site physicals and whatever. And on the 10th, it's going to be their first day of padded practices, which is going to be very exciting. Looking way ahead, they're going to have some practice scrimmages and, a lot of other cool little meets and things like that. So it's just more for me to talk about for one of the teams that I'm really, really excited to see play in the near future. And the fact that they're getting their training camps started right now is getting me more and more pumped. And I just got my tickets. They just sent them to me. So I am very excited to watch one of the more quirky sports in Philadelphia get into action. Another one of those quirkier sports, I keep talking about it, is Overwatch League. I've had a very long discussion with multiple people. One of them is my mother, who just does not understand the idea of playing video games as a sport, and I can understand that. It's a very, I'll say, confusing idea of, oh, they're playing just a video game and they're getting paid a whole lot of money. It seems odd for a lot of people, and kind of like a fantasy for most people my age too. So, like I keep saying, there is going to be a separate dedicated podcast to Overwatch League, explaining all of that. I just have to sit down and actually record it, both video and audio. So for those of you who watch this on YouTube, you get something to watch for once instead of just the Broad Street line as the podcast goes. And unfortunately, for those of you on Apple Podcasts and Google Play and other podcasting platforms, can't watch anything. It's audio. But feel free to head on over to my YouTube channel, Dr. PhD. But enough shameless self-plugs, because, well, Stage 2 is about to happen. Very excited for this week of play. The Fusion are back. after taking a short break from their very exciting playoff run. That's weird to say because it was like the playoffs of the stage, whatever. Um, After that exciting week, they had a week off. They were thinking about their new crib, the Fusion Arena, and they got to play around with a new character, Baptiste, and the meta is gonna change or not. Well, if you understand the fusion meta at all, I know I'm talking to a very small amount of people out there, but if you understand that, then it's a little upsetting to know that Goats is going to be back as the regular meta, which is not exciting. I mean, it's exciting play because uh, of the way the Fusion play. They're a fun team to watch. The problem is that it's the same. It is the same meta that was, and I was hoping that something could change. And maybe down the line something will, but it's for us to just wait and see at this point. The Fusion do have 2 matches this week. One on Thursday today, the first one actually, and one on Saturday. Um, the one today being against the New York Excelsior. And hopefully we can stop them because fuck New York. And that's as far as I kind of really thought that through. After that, we're going to play the Florida Mayhem, who is a team that we have already played. And I believe we beat. Don't quote me on that. No, that was the first team we lost to in week 2. Well, this time it's going to be a little different. I do remember it was really back and forth in that one. They ended up winning it 2-1 because I believe map 4 ended in a draw. So it's going to be interesting to see how that match works out, which is on Saturday at 3. And it's going to be interesting to see how they play tonight against the Excelsior. I know they're one of the better teams in the league, so it'll be good to see us against that top caliber talent. Apologies there. But yeah, it should be a fun time. I'm very excited. I love watching Overwatch, and I hope everyone else does eventually. It's a fun spectator sport. That's what I keep saying. And I hope more people can come around to it. I know it's a wacky idea. Which is, I'm trying to think of an interesting segue here, but I can't really. So let's talk about the Eagles because they're still in their off season. They've added a few people. One of them being Jordan Hayward. I can't remember if I mentioned that in last week's podcast or not. Jordan Howard. But I know that has sparked a whole lot of talk from Eagles fans elsewhere. Whether they are going to continue looking for a running back even though they have Howard now, or what their other offensive options are. And then I keep seeing, I think we're on draft 18 is what I saw, 18 or 19. I mean mock drafts for this year, and obviously things are changing. I mean, if teams are making moves, that's going to affect all their picks, so it's going to be up to date on that. Unfortunately, I am not. But the Eagles season is it's coming. It's going to be exciting. This team is sounding like they're good, and they're very confident behind Wentz, who is a guy that I believe still needs a little proving, which is it's just my point of view. See, like, I think Carson Wentz is an incredibly gifted quarterback, and he was absolutely the reason the Eagles were as great as they were the year we won the Super Bowl. The problem I have is that he hasn't finished a season. He's been hurt a whole lot, which, is, like, you really can't blame him for. I mean, you can, like, stop being a baby with your torn MCL or ACL. He tore a CL. um, but yeah, I can't get behind him just because I think he's gonna get injured again this season, and it's gonna be harder for the Eagles to pull it out since we lost our man BDN, Nick Foles, and I don't know. It's going to be an interesting season to see how that all works out, and if they don't give Wentz his coverage and make sure that he's all right every time he does get hit, then things could be pretty good, potentially really good. But it still scared me. I don't know. Other than that, I feel very confident about this team. Especially because my boy is back, Deshaun Jackson, one of my favorite players. As a youngling, just a little tot that was like 12 years old. But yeah, it's just, those are my thoughts right now. Is I don't really trust Wentz, but I'm super excited that Deshaun Jackson is there because he's gonna make Wentz look incredible. Another team looking incredible. How's that for a segue? Is Union. They won another match, 2-0. And like I said, there was the turnaround. There was that tied game. I called it. It was me. You heard it here first on the Orange Line. I called that this team was going was gonna get better. They were gonna turn around, and they did. Let's go, boys. But yeah, they improved their record to 2-2-1. So they're batting 500 right now. That's not how that works. But yeah, it's good enough to put them at fourth in the Eastern Conference. So that's great. They're behind DC United, Columbus Crew, and Toronto, which is interesting considering that, well, I believe we beat one of those teams, if that is correct. If as long as this will load. Yeah, we beat the Columbus Crew 3-0 actually. We stomped them. That was the game where Acom, I'm just gonna keep calling him Acom, scored 2 goals and scored again against Cincinnati. So look at our boys go, winning some games. They're improving, which is something that I like to see. They do have a game this week. It's going to be on Saturday against FC Dallas, and I don't really know a whole lot about FC Dallas, if I'm going to be honest. But I feel like every time that I've seen a game at a PPL, it's always been FC Dallas, and I don't know why that is. And my only other experience with them was I was on a plane trip. Yeah, I was at the airport, about to get onto a plane, and I saw a whole bunch of people with like FC Dallas like jumpsuits and bags and stuff like that. And I was like, "Hey, that's a soccer team." And that was pretty much it. It was also the trip that I met who was the guy that played with Dwayne Wade and LeBron James? Was that Chris Bosh? I don't know. I saw that guy at the Miami airport, so that was cool. But that was a weird segue because well, FC Dallas is they're fourth in the Western Conference, so they're about as good as us, which is not true because they are currently 3-1-1. So they're a pretty decent team, but we're on the upswing. We're killing it right now. Not actually, but we're doing pretty good. So good for us for doing pretty good, and hopefully it continues at home against FC Dallas. Let's beat them because we all hate Dallas. That's just a fact. And an unfortunate truth to that fact is a beloved Philadelphia Philly is a Dallas fan, a Dallas Cowboys fan too, which is even worse. And I'm talking about Bryce Harper. I saw a poll today that someone was like, if Bryce Harper is a Cowboys fan, but he's going to be in Philadelphia for 13 years, what should he do? And the two options were just, accept it and be slightly hated for the entirety of being here, or say screw the fandom, have more respect for the city, and be an Eagles fan. So Bryce Harper, sorry for you to now hate your old favorite team, but you are now an Eagles fan. Hooray! But yeah, it's been real great to have Phillies baseball back, ladies and gentlemen. Started play last week on Thursday. The awaited arrival of Bryce Harper at Citizens Bank Park, and they came out swinging. I don't mean that. Well, I do mean that literally, but they won that game 10-4 and went on to win the next 3 games before losing, I believe, in a walk-off on Wednesday against the Nationals yesterday. But this team has looked great, especially Michael Franco, who is currently our 8-hole hitter. And the fact that he's just been able to drop bomb after bomb after bomb at the start of this season from that position as well is kind of incredible. I saw something that I believe he has been walked the most, intentionally walked the most so far in this first week of baseball. So I don't know what that means, but that's a pretty fun fact. And of course, Bryce Harper is kicking things off. I believe he has 3 home runs right now, which is pretty insane in just those 5 games. I think it should be pretty good going forward. I'm not too upset about the loss yesterday, and for multiple reasons, if I'm gonna be honest. Just because right now we're looking at Bryce Harper sitting with 5 runs scored. He has 3 home runs and 5 RBIs. Franco has 8. Hoskins with 6 as well, who had a grand slam in the home opener. So the bats have been swinging for the Phillies. I mean, we've hit 9 so far. So well over a home run per game. So if you're going to a game, make sure you bring your mitt, or if you are tough enough, just catch it with your hands. I would bring a mitt because I would never be able to catch it with my hands. The sad truth. But coming up, we do have 2 series. Starting on Friday, we're playing the Minnesota Twins at home. And after that, Washington comes to Philadelphia. Because on Monday, we start a 3-game series against the Nationals. So they split the series, the 2-game series with us on Tuesday and Wednesday. but now it's our turn to let them know that we're gonna take that series. Okay. I, I'm just very excited for this team. I've had a lot of people be like, "Oh, what was that game on Wednesday?" and Nola doesn't play like that, and Bryce Harper and blah blah blah. And I was like, "All right, listen. If this 5 games was an indicator of anything, it's pretty much showing that we're gonna win 4 out of 5 games. That's gonna be like what, 120 some wins? It's gonna be insane. We're I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say how good I think we are. But I love this team. I love this team. It's so much fun to watch baseball with this team because they look like they're having fun, which makes me have more fun. So why not be excited, right? Right? I don't know. I'm excited for these next series. Unfortunately, I'm not really going to be watching most of them, as this is a very big wrestling weekend. If you're a wrestling fan, look out tomorrow for my wrestling podcast, the half hour of Power, PWR, Pro Wrestling Review. Should be a fun time. I'm very excited to talk wrestling. I always am. And this weekend is WrestleMania, so I might not be catching all of those Twins games, but rest assured I will be watching some of the Nationals ones. But enough of Phillies talk, because I want to talk about a sport that is very action-packed. I'm not going to say it's the opposite of baseball because they're both very exciting games to their own degree. I've likened the Phillies to chess in a way of you have to be very thoughtful of what you're doing, how you're pitching, where you're hitting things to. But this game, it's a lot rougher and tougher. I'm talking, of course, about lacrosse, indoor lacrosse, that is. The Philadelphia Wings have, I believe, their last home game of the season, which is upsetting. No more Wings at home. But it is going to be this Saturday. Everything's happening on Saturday, but it's going to be happening on this Saturday against the Calgary Roughnecks. I will be at this game. I'm very excited to be at this game because all Wings games are exciting. Always are. But yeah, we're going to be taking on the Roughnecks. Last game of the season, I saw that Matt Rambo won Rookie of the Month, I believe, for March. So that's great to see that probably our newest player to the team is getting some respect. It's showing that this team, while not in the statistics and standings aspect, they're not doing too great. But at the same time, they do have some very good qualities to them. Philadelphia, sadly, is 3-11, which is not fantastic. It's very upsetting, actually. But I am excited to see this last game. Hopefully, they give us a good show viewing. I don't know. Should be a good time. Always is. And hopefully I'll see you down there. And I don't have a segue for it, so we're going to talk about the Flyers right now. They have 2 games left in their season. They are officially out of playoff contention. They are no longer able to make the playoffs. So it's kind of just checking some things out, seeing how players work out, taking a look at, maybe Talbot in goal, make sure that Haig and Morin and all these other people are are still able to play, but there's a bit of a less exciting tone and time to the Flyers. I think some of the things going forward, going through my mind, is going to be who's going to be coaching this team and who's going to be continuing on with this team in their future. I've seen a few articles and rumblings about shaking up the core, and I saw that Voracek had touched on that before, and he's touched on why they're not in the playoffs and that they choked and that they think some things could have been different, and then that changing around some of the core could be a good decision for Philadelphia. And oddly enough, I saw another interview with Claude Giroux where Jeremy Roenick asked him if where Giroux sees Giroux in the next 10 years, and he said that he wanted to hopefully be in his last year of play. But at the same time, Roenick asked him if he sees himself still at Philadelphia, and our captain, very non-committal in response, kind of was just like, "Oh well, they're a very passionate city," and kind of deflected the question, saying that if you're playing bad, that we'll let you know that you're playing bad, which I think is a really good thing. If imagine if they're playing bad and they just didn't know. It's like, hey, do better, and they're like, we didn't think of that. So of course we're gonna let you know when you're playing bad, Claude. But it's not the response that I really would want to see from my captain. But I kind of understand where he's coming from. So maybe in 6 years he's not gonna be here anymore. I don't know. But 2 games left. One today, Thursday, at St. Louis. And then the last game is at home against Calgary. I know I said I really was hoping to clinch again in the last day of the season, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. They did not play well this week either. I didn't even talk about that. They went 0-3, losing to Carolina, the Rangers, and Dallas. It's been a tough end of the road for the Flyers, and while I'm still excited for next season, it's just not the taste I wanted to have in my mouth at the end of the season. Another team that is coming to their end of the season is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. 4 games left, all happening this week. And I believe we're getting JoJo back, Joel Embiid, for some of the last few games. He's been out just resting. He didn't play at all during the away games. 2 of which they lost out of the 3-game road trip. And during that time, it seems like the points were kind of spread around. Tobias Harris led the team in points Saturday, and then for both Wednesday's and Monday's game, I know I said that backwards, but J.J. Redick led the team with points. 30 points last night, Wednesday, and 26 points on Monday. So it's good to see them getting some points with Joel Embiid being out for a little bit. Jimmy Butler also was gone for a short, tiny bit. I believe he had, I don't know what kind of injury it was. I saw that he had some kind of injury, so he wasn't going to play. He was questionable for the game against Atlanta, and then he ended up playing. Good for him. And I'm not saying that in a condescending tone. I just mean It's good that he's okay. And this team they're fine. I think they're fine. And I think a lot of people are blowing it up and saying that they're not winning against the teams that they should be winning against. And I understand that, but to some extent, like, we already made the playoffs. We know that we're a good team. Maybe they're just thinking that they don't want to overextend themselves. I don't know. I can't get into their minds. But I know that this team is a very good team, and I think we're going to see the second round. I'm hoping for, at least the third round, but I still believe we're going to see the second round, which is still a good thing. I hope fans don't get too upset if we only get to the second round. They're like, fire Brown and, start trusting the process again. No, I don't know. I'm not too upset about it. Last 4 games happening this season are going to be Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, respectively. That was Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, just in case you missed any of it. But they're playing the Bucks, the Bulls, the Miami Heat, and the Bulls again. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this team. They're looking to get another 50-win season. I saw that it would be the third one, I believe, in franchise history. I might be making that up, but I know that it's their third one in a very long time, and the fact that they're coming off of a 50-win season last season is pretty great. But yeah, this team should be fine. They're 49-29 right now, and they're going to be facing 2 teams that one is on the bobble, one is solidly well below, and the Bucks. So hopefully we can take a win against the Bucks and rest the needed players for some of the not so important games, I guess. I'm staying confident with this team, and I hope you are too. And now we're at the end of the podcast. Thanks for coming with me on the journey. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here on the Orange Line, which has been your Philadelphia sports podcast, the first and only one, 8 for 8, that is. And please let me know what you think. You can hit me up on Twitter at Dr. PhD, DOCTER PhD, or follow the podcast at Orange Line Pod, spelled exactly how it sounds. And you're able to view this if you wish on YouTube and listen on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. It's going to be a fun time. Thank you for joining me. As always, I appreciate it. And I will see you next week with more Philadelphia sports. Let's go, teams.